Hey, what's up, beautiful souls? Happy Thursday. Hope that everybody's day is going well. And I hope your day has been filled with love and laughter and you've been able to be present in your day. Uh, Today, when I was thinking of topics that I was compelled to share or had thought about sharing in the past, something that kept coming up to me is a lot of my interactions digitally are with people that I'm a complete stranger to. So, I felt compelled to share a bit about myself and my spiritual journey, and as well as some of the background of who I um, was and who I've grown into be, and all that good jazz. When I was very young, 5 years old, my biological father left the picture, and it created. I didn't know this then, obviously, but sitting with it created a perfectionist mentality within myself and a controlling mentality, and I say that because I've discovered in meditation my perfectionism stems from trying to be the best and trying to be perfect for the simple fact of fear of abandonment and fear of people leaving my life if I was less than perfect. So um, that happened when I was very young, but also it created such a beautiful life and brought one of my guardian angels into my life. When I was 8, I had a man that married my mother and adopted my brother and I, and who I know as dad and who I called dad all my life and who I will always consider my father. I had him come into my life and really taught me everything I know, and still continues to this day to teach me, even from the spiritual realm. And so growing up, he was always there, and I grew up on the sports field in a very competitive, ego-driven childhood, as far as competing with kids from all over the country and sometimes the world in baseball. And I was blessed enough to be on very talented teams. So we just kept feeding the ego, of winning in competition, and you've got to be your best. And, so it created this ego driven atheist that I grew into as a teenager. I always, my argument was always against God, in a sense that, if I don't believe in God, and this is ignorance speaking, so this is not my belief now, but if I believe in God or I don't believe, I'm sorry, and I'm a good moral person and I do good all my life, I can still go to hell for not accepting. And this was the Christian uh, watered down version that I knew, like I said, ignorance. But I was going to go to hell for not believing in God. But even though I was a good person, yet, you know, many religious people or Christians, if you will, would have argued that, yes, that is the case. But in the same sense, people that commit heinous acts against other humans and against animals, against um, humanity, they can ask for forgiveness and be accepted into heaven. So that was always the hang up that I kind of had. Like, what the fuck kind of God is that? What? That's not something I want to worship. That you can be rewarded for doing these heinous things just by asking for forgiveness and believing in God. But if I don't believe as a good person, I'm going to go to hell. So it was kind of one of those things that led me down an atheist path where I believe that, once I died, I was in the ground and it was lights out forever. And silly me. But anyways, I developed that mindset and grew even stronger into my ego as I got older. And 9/11 happened in my sophomore year, and I remember thinking, I want to do my part to serve, and that's really the beginning of my service. Um, and it was pure of heart. I wanted to serve my country for what I believed was freedom and protection, which I now know that that's greatly fabricated by the powers to be for manipulation and control. But anyways, I joined the Marine Corps out of high school, and became successful in the Marine Corps. And um, I was at the top of my class in engineer school and in boot camp. And, I just continued to excel both with the knowledge of the things that I needed to know, as well as the physical fitness aspect of the military. And the military is very ego driven as far as who can be the best at shooting and all these egoic things. And I became very successful. And once out of the Marine Corps and out of off of a tour in the Middle East, I got off active duty and decided to join the police academy. And once again, having a strong ego and pushing myself to always be not only my best, but the best in whatever I was doing, I quickly excelled in the police academy. And I graduated as the outstanding honor cadet, and all that good achievement, physical world ego stuff. So it kept stroking my ego and kept stroking my ego. And so I at that point, I was on cruise control in life. And I wasn't pushing myself anymore. I got really comfortable in my daily routine, which was not the healthiest. It wasn't the most conscious routines, but I was still in a good place and living a damn good life. And as I went on, my father was killed in 2015. And as you can imagine, losing any parent, especially he was killed in an automobile accident, and it really shook me to my core and started to crumble, not only my spirit, but shortly after my father's death, I ended up having to have back surgery too. So at this point in my life, my complete foundation and really all three pillars of life, and mind, body, and spirit, were crumbled. I had just lost my father, who I hadn't seen in over a month, just because I was busy working 2 and 3 jobs just to grind, so to speak, to reach the monetary success that I had perceived all my life as success. And so I found myself with a crumbled back, a broken spirit, and just in a place mentally where I was a wreck, and I didn't know up from down. I didn't really know. And my fiance, bless her heart, was stuck by my side and really coddled me and nurtured me, and really showed me what unconditional love was. And I had already known that from my mother, and I had a daughter at the time. Those people had shown me unconditional love, but my experience with relationships in the past, as far as intimate relationships, I had never really. It always seemed conditional, and rightfully so. When you are learning about yourself and learning about what true love is, it can be very conditional. And I think that's part of the process of discovering what true love is. And to me, love is never conditional. So to say conditional love is kind of an oxymoron, but for the sake of the video and lack of human verbiage, that's what we'll go with. So I found myself at a place where I was just lost. And my daughter's mother had come to me with this incredible story of a lady that she worked with coming to her after a couple days of her starting there and letting her know that my father had come through to her and had told my daughter's mother all these intimate details about my family that, nobody could really have known outside of our family and our inner circle of friends. So it really it hit me from a place from a mindset of from going from atheist, excuse me, I'm stumbling over my words, but going from being an atheist to hearing all these details of somebody that's saying that my father is coming to them from the spiritual realm. It really started to make me question everything, and I was already feeling lost. So now it's just like, holy shit, what now? Like, how is this possible? How I don't understand. I don't get it. So I started to be open to every bit of information that I could take in and every bit of spiritual knowledge that I could soak in. It really started to intrigue me. So fast forward a year or two, and I have a dear friend of mine and a mentor and a brother and somebody that I'm forever grateful for. Lives in Costa Rica. His name is James, and he had this program that he was running online. It was called Awaken the Warrior Spirit Within, and for some reason, I had passed it off. He had asked me a few years before if I was interested, and I was like in the egoic state. No, I'm not really into that hippie shit, and so it found me a few years later when I was in this lost place, and I saw a video of another brother of ours doing as to why he wanted to join this program, and it sounded like me talking, and it's like, holy shit, maybe I should do this program. And so I decided, and I made the decision, and I told my fiance that I was going to do this program. It was a 12-week program, mind, body, spirit. It's taught us about nutrition, taught us about routine, and physical fitness, and gave us really some really beautiful, profound knowledge. For me, the nutrition and the physical fitness was something that I was already aware of, but it gave me tools to tap into my subconscious and really get a feel for who I am and what my purpose is, and really helped me start evaluating what I want out of life, and really gave me a new direction from the rock bottom place that I was at. And it started to rebuild that foundation within me, and I started to become curious of meditation and all these different modalities of healing. And so I started studying, and I started reading, and I started meditating, and I started praying, and I started really just opening my heart and mind to everything. And at the end of the program, the men were invited to join James in Costa Rica and go to this transformational festival called the Envision Fest. And this was really the one turning point in my life that catapulted my consciousness. I went from ego-driven, living in the root chakra, to having an understanding of chakras and the healing that can be done through energy work and all these beautiful things. And when I first went down there, I was really quite a fish out of water. I was still a police officer. I had the motivated police officer haircut, real short and tight and proper, clean shaven. And I got down there and I felt like a fish out of water. And it was very uncomfortable, very, very uncomfortable. The first day, I was down there for a reason. And, to rewind a little bit, what led me down there was when my father died, and his safe lockbox was a manila envelope full of concert and festival tickets, and I never knew that side of my father, and it was kind of one of those things where my family, like my brother and my sister and my mom, were, getting into this safe lockbox to find, a will and, important documents, and boom, here is this envelope full of these tickets, and nobody really understood or cared to have them. So, naturally I was like, I'll take them. And at the time I had no clue, but come to find out, I took these for a very divine reason. And when I got to the festival, I was uncomfortable the first day. I had this experience where somebody went out of their way to approach me and run me through a breathing exercise to help me release the tension, and explain to me that I was a wolf and that I was able to lead in any climate, and that if I was just myself, that the world would um, basically open up for me. And all this worry and stress and tension that I was carrying, and all this baggage that I had brought down there, I was able to set down. And it was a really profound experience that blew my heart and mind wide open. So the next few days at the festival, I really dove into everything that they had to offer, as far as the workshops and the talks that higher consciousness people do there. And I was really just blown away by the beautiful energy and the way things flowed, and the efficiency of this festival. Just as a military guy, I had never seen anything run so smooth, because if the government's involved, it's going to be fucked up, and there's going to be too many chiefs, and it, I was just astonished, and really, really grateful to be there. And they have a place at the festival called the Sacred Fire, and it's a fire tended by um, the last year that I had went, there was a shaman that they had brought in, but the year before it was just a sacred fire for people to openly discuss their vulnerabilities, and to pray and to sing and really dive within. And I had this experience of my father coming to me in spirit at this sacred fire, and it crumbled every paradigm of thinking that I had, and it just crumbled so many old programmings that I had. And one thing that came to me that my father told me is the reason for the festival and concert tickets was to guide me down to the Envision Fest, so that I could see how beautiful life was, and how, living from heart center, and being open minded and positive, and how beautiful life could be if I chose to live that way, and stop being so pessimistic, and living from the toxic ego. And it was such a profound moment in my life. And the decision to go to Envision was something that was not at at all free, and I'm not talking monetarily. It caused a huge rift in my relationship with my fiance, and it was so hard for me to explain why I had to do this, because I didn't know why. And at the beginning, at that time we were still fairly new, and she didn't understand, and I didn't understand to help her understand. And so there were times where she straight up told me, I don't know if I'm going to be here when you get back, because I don't understand what's going on. And really went about it the wrong way, and I knew, I thought I knew what the answer would be if I said, "Hey, I'm going to Costa Rica to this festival." I knew it was going to be met with opposition, so I bought my ticket and bought my passport and all this before I told, and had open communication with my fiance. And we're still working through those things that I caused in our relationship. And I own that part of our struggle with trust. And I get it. I do. And she sees the transformation that it's caused within me. And one thing that somebody told me while I was down there, as I was like just elated at the beauty that this place had, and somebody said to me, now take this light back to where you live and share it with people. And it was like, holy, I am going to do exactly that. So I came home a whole new man, just charged full of this beautiful light from the divine, and from these beautiful people and this beautiful art and this beautiful atmosphere that I had never opened myself up to, because in my egoic police officer mind, I would have written off 95% of these people. And now these are the people that openly accepted and loved me, and who I was. And I felt so grateful, and so compelled to change my life and change the way I view things and change the way I view people, that I brought that light home and I started sharing it. And I started diving deeper into my spiritual practices, and I started diving deeper into meditation, and really finding my own path, and not just reading literature and absorbing everybody else's knowledge, but really diving within and asking God to trust me with universal knowledge and universal wisdom. And here I am, 3 years removed from my first festival, and I'm so grateful, and I'm so grateful for you guys, and the trust that you've instilled in me, and my journey, and being a reflective mirror for people to just reflect upon their own growth and their own path. And it's my sole mission to just be a bridge, because one of the first things that came to me in meditation as I returned from this journey is that I was to be a bridge from the place that I once was, at the top of the ego world in law enforcement and in the military. It really brought a deeper purpose and a soul purpose to my life, and that's the mission that I'll forever be on, to just help people unlock and help people really dive within themselves. So I love you guys. I hope you guys have an absolutely wonderful evening, and thank you so much for listening. And I can't wait to catch up soon.